Well, with winter fast approaching, a lot of gardeners are left with very dull garden landscapes to look at. But I'm here to give you some advice. In fact, I'm here with Vince Morocco, who's Director of Horticulture here at the Morris Arboretum. We're going to give you some tips on winter gardening. Vince, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Everything gets exposed in the winter garden, and there are various aspects to look at. And one is, well, we're standing next to one, is plants that have wonderful stems. They may have dropped their leaves, but what have we got behind us?
Right here is a red twig dogwood called Cardinal, which has this beautiful red coloration on the stems in the winter throughout. The coloration is mostly on the younger stems, so every couple of years we'll come through here and cull these and cut them down to the ground to allow those new canes to grow, because that's what gives you the best color.
Gotcha, rejuvenate it.
Exactly.
And I found with some of the red stems, as the winter progresses, they get even more red, and particularly the yellow stem ones as well.
Exactly, so the colors change from fall through winter, and into the spring it changes again. So the one great thing about the red twig dogwoods is they're also very wet tolerant, and we put these plants here in an area that's a little bit wet, and they thrive in it.
Excellent. Well, following on from red stems, how about red berries? There are a lot of plants that have interesting fruit that kind of persist into the winter months, and this is one of the best.
Exactly, winterberry hollies are one of the best for fall color, for fruit, and also for winter forage for birds. It's an important source for migrating birds to eat the berries. And this one in particular, winter red, is a tough plant with great fruit set.
And again, as you said, it will tolerate wet soil.
Exactly.
Maybe a little bit of shade, but I think full sun.
Full sun is perfect. Better fruit set in full sun than in shade.
Well, we're going to be looking for some interesting bark, but I have to say that we just got to stop here and look at this amazing view. We've caught these Japanese maples, this Japanese garden, at prime fall season. I don't know what the word is for it. It's stunning though, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, let's focus now on bark, interesting bark. Is there such a thing? Well, we certainly think so here, don't we, Vince?
Correct. So this is a lacebark pine, and most people think of pines as having that thick, blocky bark. Lacebark pine does not have that bark. It has a very smooth bark with these sort of dappled light and dark patches to it. So this is a beautiful plant, and what people don't realize is that over time, trees that become hundreds of years old will produce that typical platy bark, but this is young bark.
Well, this is a gorgeous reddy bark on this tree. What is this?
This is a Cypress or a false cypress. Again, this is an older tree that's had some time to mature and produce this beautiful sort of striated bark. And the younger bark is really red. As it ages, it becomes a little bit
I can
grayer.
see the smaller trunk on the side. There's definitely more red. Well, one of the real strong features of a winter garden has to be the evergreens.
Yes.
And Vince, this is amazing plant.
This is a beautiful plant. This is the Japanese umbrella pine, which is a beautiful, slow-growing conifer. You'll get maybe 3 or 4 inches of growth per year out of this.
Absolutely stunning, isn't it?
It's really quite beautiful. Very interesting leaf needle.
Yeah, like an umbrella. You can see the umbrella reference there, can't you?
Exactly. And what people don't realize is these leaf-like structures are actually modified stems, not true leaves.
I didn't know that.
So it's a botanical oddity.
Now, leaves of some plants, like the broadleaf evergreens, for example, like this, it's an azalea, is it?
Correct.
Start turning interesting colors in the winter.
Exactly. They take on this sort of mahogany reddish color and will persist all winter long. So typically a green plant in the summer becomes this beautiful color in the autumn.
Is there anything that flowers in the winter?
There are some flowering winter plants. For example, our native witch hazel blooms in the wintertime.
We're talking about an interesting tree. Obviously, it's a beautiful bark, but these furrows are just quite amazing. And this tree's got its own particular history.
Right, so this is a dawn redwood, which has, like you mentioned, this beautiful furrowed bark and this fabulously buttressed trunk. It's a sight to behold.
Now, in terms of gardening tips, I've got to get this in there. That shape where the roots come out, like, it's important to leave that exposed. Don't want to cover it up. And it was extinct.
It was extinct. So this plant was first discovered as a fossil found in rocks. And at one point, fossils of the dawn redwood were found on every continent, including Antarctica. It was discovered growing in the wild in a very small population in a very narrow valley in China. And at that point, there were only 200 or so specimens of this plant that at one time had been all over the entire world.
And I gather this is a seedling from that.
So the first collection trip to collect these was made in 1947, and this plant is from that original collection. So it's one of the very first ones introduced into cultivation.
Well, Vince, with the leaves dropped, the light coming in, you can really appreciate this. Well, tell us what kind of tree it is.
This is a paperbark maple, and this is a maple that has this beautiful sort of reddish colored bark to it, but it also peels off in long strips sometimes.
Oh, look at that.
Thus
Yep.
the name paperbark maple. It's really quite a beautiful plant. It's an Asian species that actually in the wild is becoming threatened in its natural habitat.
Well, to end this winter gardening topic, we're in a place that combines several of the things that will add to your winter garden interest. We haven't mentioned much of ornamental grasses, but they can be very useful.
Exactly. This is a grass called Pennisetum, fountain grass, which is a really fabulous summer growing grass, green, with these lovely seed heads which form, and then in the winter it also holds itself together very well. Not all grasses are good winter grasses,
No.
but Pennisetum is.
Yep. So it doesn't really matter. The summertime, the garden looks good. When all the perennials die down, the leaves drop, we're left here with what will really be a very interesting landscape. The light coming in sideways exposes all the trellises. A little bit of snow covering gives emphasis to all the wonderful silhouettes as well.
Exactly, and these evergreens give you the bones of the garden that persist all winter long.
So winter gardening doesn't mean you get out in the middle of winter when it's freezing cold. You actually plant in the spring, your typical planting times, to enjoy the garden in the winter. So that's just one of the many aspects of visiting the Morris Arboretum. When we come back though, we're going to look at a gardening technique that kids will love, and I love too.